Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to be reviewing the HTVRont Auto Heat Press machine. HTVRont did send me this heat press to test out, so we are going to be seeing how it works with heat transfer vinyl and sublimation. This video is not sponsored at all, and I'm going to be giving you my honest opinion about this machine. I do also have a free design for you guys for sublimation, just in time for Halloween if you are interested. So stay tuned for that later on in the video. But before we get started, if you are new here, please do consider subscribing down below. So here is the new Auto Heat Press machine, fresh out of the box. I just opened it and I'm going to take you through how to work it and what all the buttons are up top. And I will say it is very easy to operate. So the first button we have is the power button that is blinking here. Up top is the thermometer, that's going to be your temperature. Below it is the clock, which is your time. You're going to see the LCD screen, the plus and minus to lower the temperature or time. And then this R button here is the start button. So your two main buttons are going to be the power and that R, which is start. Down here we have three more buttons. Starting from the left, we have the modes button, then the custom, and then finally the auto, that is the A. And I will be using that one in this video, and it does come in very handy. So to start it up, you just have to press the power button. And now I'm just going to show you how you can set the temperature and the time when you want to either use this for heat transfer vinyl or sublimation. So you'll see here when it's not heated up, that R is going to blink red. So right now I'm just going to set a custom temperature. So you just want to hit the thermometer. You can just use the plus or minus to lower it or raise it to whichever temperature you need. Once you have the temperature set, you can just let it blink 3 times or just hit that thermometer to lock it in. And now I want to set the time, so I just hit the clock and then I'm just going to adjust the time by holding down the minus until I get down to the appropriate time. And again, you can just let that blink for a few seconds and it will set it, or when you're done adjusting your time, you can just go ahead and hit the clock. Either one will set it. And now it is going to start warming up and getting ready for you to use. I'm also going to turn on the auto function, and to do that you just have to press the A button one time and you will see it illuminate on the screen. And if you want to turn that off, you can just hit it one more time. Now we're just going to do a quick overview of the machine, and I want to show you how that auto function works. So this handle here, that's what you're going to use to pull out your drawer. Now I did want to show you when you have the auto function in play, so you'll see the A light up on the screen. When you press your drawer all the way in, it's going to automatically activate the heat press. So it's going to come down right away. To cancel that, or anytime you need to cancel the heat press, you can just go ahead and press the R button and it will cancel the action and raise that heat press. So now I did go ahead and press the A button again to turn off auto, and I wanted to show you one more feature. So when you're using this and you do not have it on the auto function, you will have to press that R each time you want to activate the auto heat press. But if your drawer is not all the way in, it will not activate. So make sure your drawer is pushed all the way in. You are going to feel a little bit of resistance at the end, and it's almost going to feel like you are clicking it into place. At that point, you will know it is fully in and you can activate the auto heat press. If you try to activate it by pressing the R button when it is not all the way in, you will hear an audible beep and it will not stop until that drawer is fully locked in place. Now that it is all set up, let's go ahead and review the machine and see how it works. I wanted to make sure that we were really testing out the machine, so I'm going to be using it on 2 different heat transfer vinyl projects, as well as a few sublimation projects. So we are going to be sublimating 100% polyester, a polycotton blend, as well as some coated metal. For our first HTV project, I did go ahead and set the machine to 315 degrees for 15 seconds, and you will see that the R did go from red to green, meaning that the heat press is fully heated up and ready to use. So I'm going to be using some heat transfer vinyl on this canvas tote. This is actually a Cricut tote, and this one is actually meant for sublimation, but I thought it would be fun to use for this project. Now right away, I did want to point out something to you guys. The drawer does pull all the way out and it gives you a lot of room to work with, and I had no issue whatsoever with my tote here. But if I was going to be sublimating a hoodie, and I had to get the hood under this heat press here in order to slide that drawer in, I might run into a little bit of trouble. Now I didn't try it out yet, so I can't say for sure, but it is something to keep in mind because you really don't want to be pushing your fingers underneath that heat plate. The heat plate is right there and it is only a couple inches or so above the actual ironing pad. So you really want to be careful. Don't put your fingers in there. And I will have to see in the future if it does become a problem when I want to sublimate something that might be a little bit bulkier. You can always turn your project to the side and that gives you a little bit more room to work with, but if it was a sweatshirt, the arm might be in the way a little bit, so we will see. But for now, I had absolutely no issue with that, but in the future, it is something to keep in mind. So right now, I am just pre-pressing my tote bag here just to make sure it was nice and flat for my heat transfer vinyl. Now these images here were actually sent to me from HTVRont. I do not have a cutting machine yet, so they kindly gifted me these transfers. That way I could show you guys and demonstrate. So all of the vinyl you see here is their vinyl, and I will say it did work really well. Some of it was a little bit easier to work with than others, but I will be sure to point all of that out as we go along. Since I do have my auto button turned on, you guys might have noticed as soon as I pushed my drawer all the way in, it did automatically activate the heat press, it went down, and that timer started to tick down as well. So once that 15 seconds is up, it will automatically erase the heat plate and I can pull out my drawer. Now this is a cold peel vinyl, so we do have to wait for it to completely cool before we remove that carrier sheet. After I let it cool completely, I started to remove my carrier sheet, and this vinyl here is a black glitter vinyl and it did remove pretty easily the carrier sheet. And then my second one is just a matte black, and that one removed really easily. No problems at all here. It pressed really well. I'm going to layer on my second color. So these are going to be two little monsters. This one here is a blue monster and it's just a matte blue vinyl. The second vinyl is actually going to be one of their pattern vinyls, and it's a really fun buffalo check print and it has a little bit of a shine to it. Most of the vinyl is protected by that carrier sheet, but you will see the top part of the horn does have a little bit peeking out from that carrier sheet. So I am going to add on my Teflon paper here. The machine actually did come with one sheet of this reusable Teflon. I do have extra of these because I do a lot of sublimating, and this is just to protect that vinyl so it does not stick to that heat plate when it is bare like that without the carrier sheet. I left this one in the heat press for 15 seconds again, and I am going to let it cool completely before removing the carrier sheet. So this was after several minutes and it was completely cool to the touch. The blue vinyl turned out beautifully and the carrier sheet came off with little force, but I will say the buffalo check did take a little bit of extra strength. It was not ripping at all when I peeled up that carrier sheet, but it did require quite a bit of effort to get it to come up. And I did take my time because I was afraid that it would actually rip it, and I did end up actually putting it back in the machine for another 15 seconds before I removed the carrier sheet. So now I'm just going to go ahead and add in some white vinyl for the eyes as well as the teeth, added in some brown for the details on the horns. I did go ahead and put this in the machine for another 15 seconds, but I will say when I did start to remove the carrier sheet from the horns, I did see a little bit of the brown starting to peel up. Now it could be user error because I am very new to this, or maybe because it is so tiny, some of those details are very fine. So I did end up putting it in the machine again for another 15 seconds, letting it cool completely before removing that carrier sheet, and it was totally fine. This is after my second time in the machine at 15 seconds, and then it came up just fine. So after I had all of my carrier sheets removed, I did go ahead and just put my Teflon paper back on, and I actually raised the temperature to 320, and I ended up putting it back into the heat press for 20 seconds this time with all the carrier sheets removed, just to make sure everything was really secure. I'm not sure if this was needed at all, but it was just an extra step and some reassurance for me to make sure that everything was going to be held down perfectly. If you guys are pros at this, I am very open to tips and suggestions. Let me know down below in the comments. So after those 20 seconds, I did remove my Teflon paper, let it cool completely, and I'm going to give you a close-up on how it turned out. Here's a close-up of the tote bag after I let it cool down a little bit. And I have to say, I am very impressed with this vinyl. It really does look beautiful. The blue one in particular looks very sturdy. It looks like a really good quality vinyl. This one here is a little bit shinier. It does seem slightly thinner than the blue vinyl, but that pattern is beautiful. I really haven't seen too many patterned vinyls like that. It's really nice looking, and overall, I was pretty impressed with how easy this was in the machine. Next up, we are going to be doing one more HTV project before we move on to sublimation. So this time I wanted to add a design to this garden flag. This garden flag is actually another blank from my sublimation stock, so it is 100% polyester and very thin, and I did want to go ahead and just pre-press it in the machine to get out some of those wrinkles. So now once I did that, I got my design ready, and this one is going to be a mountainscape with 3 different colors and 3 different vinyls. So we're going to be using a matte black vinyl, a blue metallic vinyl, as well as a glitter vinyl. So I thought that this project in particular was a good one for a review because we can really see how well all 3 of those different types of vinyls work together. I did stick at the 15 seconds for each press, but I did raise the temperature to 320 degrees. After pressing, I did let this cool completely again since this is a cold peel vinyl. I had no issues whatsoever. The carrier paper is a little bit stickier, so you will see me using some extra force, but the vinyl held up just fine and was attached to the flag really nicely. So next up is our metallic vinyl. This one I was really excited to try out because it is so beautiful and vibrant. So again, this one I put into the heat press for 15 seconds at 320 degrees. I did let it cool completely before removing that carrier sheet. The carrier sheet for the metallic vinyl was a little bit harder to pull up. I had no issues when it came to damaging the vinyl. It was totally fine, but I did take my time, go slow, and it did require a bit of extra force. So far, everything was pressing beautifully, and we just had one more to do. This is the glitter vinyl, and this is just a stain that goes right above the mountain, and this is where I ran into a little bit of trouble. So you will see my carrier sheet here. It did overlap over 2 of the metallic letters, the S and the T, and the force from the press did accidentally damage the letters a little bit. So I'm going to give you a close-up here so you can see. But the glitter vinyl did attach to the flag really well, and the carrier sheet came off easily. I do wish I had trimmed that carrier sheet a little bit. Again, it could be user error since I am pretty new to this. And if you guys have any tips for me, let me know down below. Next time I will be sure to trim it. That way it doesn't overlap over my metallic vinyl. Other than that though, beautiful project, came out really nicely, and it was easy to work with. Next, I wanted to test out the heat press with some sublimation projects since that is mostly what I do. So this is the free design that I have for you guys. It says Hocus Pocus Co. and Witches Wanted underneath it. I'm going to have this design available completely for free for you guys on my blog. I will leave a link for it down below in the video description box. You guys can resize it however you like. You can put it on sweatshirts, mugs, tumblers, anything you like, and it's just a really fun one for this time of year. Before we sublimate, I do want to pre-press my sweatshirt just to make sure it is nice and flat and get any moisture out. Then I just take a sticky roller to make sure to remove any lint. I did forget to add a piece of paper underneath, so that is what I did there. That way none of the ink transfers through to the back of the sweatshirt. Now I'm going to go ahead, tape it in place with some heat tape. I like to add another piece of paper on top for bleeding of the ink, and then I put on my reusable Teflon sheet. I sublimated my sweatshirt for 45 seconds at 385 degrees. Now this sweatshirt is the poly cotton blend. This one is only 65% polyester. Sublimating fabric, you're always going to get your best result with 100% polyester, so I do think that this one turned out pretty good for a blend. Now, I do like that it does auto adjust the pressure, so you really don't have to worry about that. But that could be considered a negative at times, but I do think that the machine does a really good job at adjusting itself appropriately. Now, if I could do this one over again, I probably would raise the temperature just a bit and sublimate for maybe 55 seconds to really get as much color in there as I could, especially since this one is a blend. Next up, we are going to be sublimating a shirt that is 100% polyester, and I wanted to incorporate some colors. That way we could see how the machine sublimates the color and to see if it is really vibrant and if it gets those deep colors really into the fabric. I'm starting off by just pre-pressing my shirt, and this is the design that we are going to be sublimating onto the back of the shirt. So it definitely has that color, so we will be able to see if we do have a good color payoff. So I went ahead, added some paper in between my shirt, that way the ink does not bleed through. And I did sublimate this one for 45 seconds at 385 degrees like I did for the last project. This shirt is 100% polyester. The color that you are left with here is exactly how the shirt is going to stay, wash after wash, which is why you do want to stick to 100% polyester anytime you can when you are sublimating fabric. So I think this one turned out so wonderful, and I really did enjoy the auto function because I actually ended up doing 5 of these shirts, so it did come in really handy. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove that paper and give you guys a closer look at how this one turned out. I have to say I am very happy with this project. This honestly looks exactly like it did on the screen. The color payout was wonderful. The colors are true. You can see it's really in the fabric there. This is why I love sublimation. That image is in there. You are never going to have any cracking or fading. It is a really great option for shirts like this, and I will say the heat press worked wonderfully for this project. Now the last one I wanted to do was a little bit trickier. I wanted to sublimate this phone case. So this is a special coated metal that is made specifically for sublimation. I just ordered these from Amazon. Anything you see in today's video, I will try to link down below in the video description box. And I'm also going to be linking the pre-order for this heat press in the video description box. Now, when I usually do these phone cases and my regular heat press, I do it for 120 seconds. When I went to set the time on the heat press, I did notice that the machine does max out at 99 seconds. Again, another thing to keep in mind. So I wasn't really sure how to deal with that at first, but I ended up just doing the 99 seconds, and then as soon as the heat plate started to lift, I pressed the R back down to re-engage the heat plate, and I ended up sublimating it for another 20 seconds and then just canceled out the rest of the time. For a phone case like this, I do usually like to set the pressure pretty high on my manual heat press machine, so I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out since this is a auto press and you really can't adjust the pressure yourself too much. Another thing to note, this one did leak through and did get some dye onto my pad here, the ironing pad, so be careful if you are using a project that does have a lot of ink like this here. Now, I will say that you can definitely see the images. They did turn out perfectly fine. I'm going to give you a close-up though. First, I just wanted to show you how you attach it to these phone cases in case you have not seen these before. They're a really fun sublimation project, and since we are almost in October, I thought it was only appropriate to do a hocus pocus one. And I do think that this one turned out beautiful. It's sublimated, the colors are all there, they are all accurate. The image is a little bit blurry though. Now I don't know if it would be any different with a different heat press with my manual one or not, but it was something to note. But overall, I was very impressed with this heat press. I think that this is great if you are going to be using it for HTV vinyl. Wonderful. It worked perfectly with the projects that I did today, and I do think it worked really well with my sublimation. I think it worked best with my 100% polyester fabric, but again, that is pretty typical with any sublimation project. When you are using fabric, you do want to stick with that 100% polyester. And for the phone case, the image was slightly blurry, but again, I'm not sure if that would be different with a different heat press or if it was just the image that I used. But I hope that this was helpful. If you guys do have any questions, let me know down below in the comments. I will be sure to answer any ones that I can. And overall, I was really impressed with this heat press, and I am excited to see what I can do with it in the future. Thank you guys so much for watching. To subscribe to my channel, you can just click on my picture right here. And be sure to check out this video for some more crafting fun.